Hello and welcome to part 2 of the train project. Now this week we're going to be looking at building the train and its tender, and what I'm going to focus on is getting it built up to the stage where it's done. But because it's going to be a long video, I'm going to leave the painting process to its own video, probably when I've done the coaches. So I've pulled all the bits together. What I'm going to do, I'm going to build this engine, and it's the K091 156 scale, perfect for bolt action, French 140C locomotive, and it's by TheMicroWorld. So I'm going to start by putting this together, and what I'm going to do, because I've obviously got coaches and everything else to build and I don't want the video to get too long, I'm just going to build this one up, and I'll leave the painting to a future video when I've got all of the train carriages built as well. So as you see at the minute, I've just basically pieced it together to make sure I've got all the bits. So let's just take all these off, and this main part, it comes in two parts. There don't seem an awful lot to take off this. I might try and smooth it a bit, just to get rid of some of the lines and things, but it's not too bad actually, and being as it's meant to be steel and everything, it'll only add to the effect. So, but I might just smooth it a little bit. Right, so I've given these two bits a bit of a smooth, not much, just a bit, and now let's try and get it stuck together. And obviously what I want to make sure of, more than anything, is that we get this totally lined up, because obviously it's not going to look good if any of the seams show. Right. Start from this end. Just holding that for a few seconds. I don't want it to move. Right. I'm going to give that a bit of a blast so it stays in place. that a bit more strength, wouldn't it? That's going to go against there, yeah. Right, that's held it tightly in place, and I'll give it a spray while I've got it in that position. You've just got to be fairly quick action. I'll tell you, it grabs really quick with the super glue on this material. Maybe it's because I've sanded it down a bit in places and it's just made it bond so quick, so you haven't got much working time. So the important thing I'd say is just making sure you've got it in place from the get-go. Right, the next bit in the drawing is this piece, which is let's just get some of this flash off this. It's the engine plate, and clearly that's going to sit in against that, and then that makes it take the right angle so it sits forward. But I'm just going to take a little bit of time to clean up some of the flashing that's on this. Right, a lot of fiddling going on there, but that's got it in place, and I just basically tried to centre it a little bit. It's not, you can't totally centre it because of the proportions of it, but it's centred at the bottom. Right. It's showing two little platform stands, but it's showing them sat back from that. So that would be there. Yeah. Let's just tidy these little bits up. Once I've got these in place, I'll bring it up so you can see clearly where the bits went. Right, so that's what it's looking like inside now. As I say, these little runner plates, you could have put them the other way round, but it is showing them that way round on the drawing, so I want to stick to it. as faithfully as I can. Right. Well, I've already jumped and done four already, so the next part, you see in 5 it's showing this part being stuck together and going down there, and then you've got what looks like, you know, something very similar because it's the same size, but in actual fact what that is these smaller bits. You've got 2 to stick together. Right. That's that one. Let's do the other one. Push that down. Yeah, that's it. So that's that one done. Right. Stick the engine down. So that presumably is going to sit in that gap there. There we go. That's down. Right, so that's held that down now and in place. There are a few little gaps. I guess that's just moulding. But what I will do is any of these little gaps that I've got, before I paint it, I'll put some green stuff into that and smooth it out, just to take away any of the lines before I get to undercoat it. But that's that bit. So let's just press on with the next part now. So the next one is sticking on some of these spares. So let's start with the top funnels. Right. Again, there's a tiny bit of flash on some of these. Nothing too much. See that that's sitting right. Yeah. Alright, next one's the dome. Can't tell you what all these bits are, I'm afraid. I'm not a complete trainiac. But it's what makes it look like a train. And the next one. Wait a minute. Right. Now it's the cab roof. So it's going to be that way. Alright, now it's these pieces that we have to stick together. I just wish this drawing was a little bit bigger on this bit. think that's right, yeah. So they seem to be sitting, they seem to sit like that. I'm presuming that they sit right up against that. I'm not sure whether there should be, maybe if I had a bit of a gap. It doesn't really make it that clear on the drawing, but I think that would look better because it gives it a bit more of a three-dimensional look, whereas if I shove it up against that, it looks more moulded. Well, that's what I'm going to go with anyway. I think I'm right. There we go. That's it. So that's it in place. So I've gone for a slight gap there and equal to that side. Make sure I've got the same. Right. The next part is this. It's in two parts, but this really does need a bit of, let me zoom in on it a little bit. Needs a bit of flashing. Took off on this, only little bits. Right, so let's stick this together first. Right, now if you look closely at this, it's got some little tabs on there. They're clearly going to be the bit that mounts it to the side. So the only really glue points you've got is the bottom and just the edge of these two. So I've got to make sure I get a thin bead of glue on here because I don't want it to go everywhere. Now let's see where that seems to be sitting. If you look here again, this is where you could do with a bit of a close-up of it in place, so you could see exactly where it's supposed to sit, because to me it looks like it sits right up to the edge or just before the fascia panel that we've not put on yet. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. Yeah, we missed that the front panel on it, so we'll put that on first to make sure that we've got the right spacing. Right, and that's got a bit of flashing on it as well. You have to forgive me on this bit because it's a little bit fiddly. It's not that it's hard to locate it, it's just I want the lines at the front to be parallel with the bottom. Let's pan back out again so you can see me a bit more. There. That's what I was talking about. I wanted those lines to run parallel with this. So even if you've got it in position, it's very easy to get that off kilter a bit. Now, going back to the grey part, I'm thinking that it shows it going right up to that point there. There's a temptation to put it right in the middle, but I don't think that's what the drawing's showing. It's just not quite clear enough. I'm thinking it's definitely off centre and nearer to the edge. Well, that's what I'm going to go with. As I say, you want a very fine bit of glue on this. Right, that's that. Right, so let's pan out a little bit more, sorry. So that's the engine done. This looks pretty good actually. And despite how simple it appears with a few bits, it's worth taking a bit of time getting it right because, as I say, if you're using super glue, I mean, maybe if you've got some other kind of glue that gives you a bit more working time, you really need to be precise. But that's looking pretty good to me. As I say, you're going to have a few edges and things here. I am going to take the time before I come to painting it to fill all these gaps. But as I said, I'm going to wait till I've built everything and then I'll bring you back when it comes to doing the painting. But anyway, that's just the part of this build. So that's the engine. Now we need the tender. And this bit's fairly straightforward. But you've also got quite a lot of other smaller grey bits that we've got to figure out where to put. And it's talking about on section 1, please measure and mark midpoint on both before gluing. Oh, let's just have a look at what that's actually referring to. I know it's to do with this as well. Right, I've had a good look at this and I'm convinced that that's the right place to be putting it, so it's flush on the back. and it's a question of making it centralised. Right, this is important to get this lined up right from the get-go. There we go. So basically you've got it flush at this end, and when you put this front panel on, it's going to have a little bit that sticks out, and that's why it's left this little bit at the back with a ridge as well to even that up. Right, let me just clean a bit of this flash off the grey bit and we'll stick that in place. Right, I've cleaned this part up. So now what we need to do is get this stuck in place. And again, what we need to do is, if you look at that, there's some little grooves there. You've got to line that up with these grooves. That's it. And the grooves, if you can see, that run up the side, marry up with the grooves in the grey bit. Right. Right, so now the next set is to put these top edges on, which are obviously all these grey parts. And I think you want that kind of tilts slightly outwards, because if you look at these, they've got like an edge showing there. And I'm thinking, looking at it, it doesn't make it very clear. Again, you could do with a bit of a drawing on this one, but it does look to show another line on that drawing, which suggests that the flat side is on the inside and the groove is on the outside, and it's just a question of lining it up on there. Try and keep the glue a bit fine, I don't want it going everywhere. the actual grey thing has got a little bit of a bow in it. I want it to come down to just hold this other one in place because I want to see if this make sure that the end piece marries up. Right, time for the next one. So I'm going to spray this while it's folding. So there we go, finally. That was tricky. Now it's just making it marry up with the ends as well. That bit doesn't quite line up perfectly. I've got it flush with the edge, and I've got that flush with the edge. It's sitting to the curve, which is where it's meant to. But this one, I can't tilt it anymore because that's its flat surface, and it's just slightly out of kink with this. Not much. It's less noticeable on that side than on this side. So again, what I'll do is I'll tidy that up with a little bit of green stuff before I come to the painting. But that bit is fiddly. You kind of got to have your hands everywhere. It might have been better if that was all in one piece, to be honest, so that you could just flex it and stick it on rather than the individual pieces. But it is what it is, so I mean it's going to look the part when it's finished. So the next thing, it's showing two pads that sit up against these top edges here. So at least you know where you located them. They appear to have a chamfer at one edge. I've got two types of pieces here that kind of fit the bill. Thinking that the thinner ones would be the back ones. Let's just mock build that a minute. Right, I've had a better look at this, and it's right that the bigger piece fits on the back. Bigger piece fits on the back. The smaller piece fits up against that. And then this rounded case fits in that gap there. So it looks like that. It's very easy to get these two bits mixed up and get these boxes mixed up with the other box because it's just not quite clear enough on the drawing. I would definitely recommend that they increase the size of that on the drawing, if not number it or identify it with shape. But that meets all the criteria. I can see on the drawing that it's flush on the top there. It butts up to that one from the front, and then the rounded case sits flush with the end. I'm sorry if that's not totally clear, but hopefully you can see it from the picture itself. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue them both in place, and then I'll show you them in situ, and hopefully that'll help if you do build one of these. Right, now that I've got them in place, I can show you it a bit better. So as you can see, the thicker plate is the back plate. The thinner plate is the side plate. And then it's the rounded box, if you can see that, the rounded toolbox that sits up against those. And that way you've got it all flush. And then the other thing that I've done in the meanwhile as well is stick the actual door panel for the keeping the coat back in there. Right, so it's very easy to get them the wrong way round, the wrong way up. It really is down to the drawing. It needs to be a little bit bigger and a little bit clearer. So, but I mean, you can see the way it needs to go, so you can still fathom it out. But I think it'd be very easy to, think, oh, this is a simple build, I'll knock it together, and get those the wrong way round, and it's very frustrating once they're glued in place. So it's worth taking the time over. Right, let me just have a look at it and see what the next parts are, and I'll bring you back. Right, the next one, happily, is a bit more straightforward. It's just these toolboxes. There's one either side. That's that one in place. Right. You got these little. I don't know whether they're meant to be foot plates. They probably are for climbing up onto it. Show you. It's showing it just there, and that's it. And I'm thinking by the look of it, yeah, if I look at the next drawing, I can see it's curving inwards, so the foot part is facing the wheels. Just bring that up and show you. So it's like that. And like I say, the foot piece is going in towards the wheels. So that's that one. And there we go. That's those on. Again, it's worth taking a bit of time just to get them to line up right. I'm going to give them a bit of a spray. Alright, so that's that part. The next thing is these little lamps. Again, I've got a little bit of flash on them, so I'm just going to take that off first. I'll bring that up for you. So they fit there. There is a little ledge for them to sit on, so it's quite easy to locate them. The next thing is to put on the buffers, and this one's getting somewhere near done then. But I have noticed there's a few bits I left off on the engine itself, so we'll just pop back and do those once I've got these in place. Right, so I've had another look at that, and everything's on there, but I had made a small error. I noticed that the foot plates that I'd put on here were the bigger ones, and they're for the engine, so I've quickly switched them over. So that's the tender complete now, and coming back to the engine, let's pan you out a bit. Coming back to the engine, I've basically put those larger ones on here, and then it's also got two smaller ones for the front. So the next thing that I've got to do with this is there's two little small support pieces that I missed out, that it shows like a support going underneath this and sitting against the rim. So I might need a pair of tweezers to get this in place and hold it in place while I'm gluing it. Alright, you can see that a bit better now. So it's just looking like a support piece. It's just a matter of getting it, you know, so you've got it straight that way as well as upright. And that's that bit. You see it just here. And they're in line with each other when I look through the gap. That's fine. Right, so we've got the lamps for the front now. That looks to be one either side on this bit. So let's just check these because they might need a bit of cleaning up. The other ones did. Same distance apart. Yeah. Right. Spray them actually. Right, buffers next. We're nearly there. Just want to make sure I've got them perfectly in line. Look at it from above, yeah, looks fine. And then the coupling, for the front. And that's it. Alright, let me just get my bench cleared and we'll have a closer look at them. Alright, so there she is. That's the feature piece of the project that I'm engaging with. You know, just to step back and review this, I'd say the model is really good. I've got to be honest, the MicroWorld, I think the drawing could be a little bit better in places, and maybe a few more exploded diagrams would help. Because, as I said throughout, it does look a very simple build, but it would be very easy to get some of the bits in the wrong place, which you wouldn't necessarily find out until you got to the end and realised that something else wouldn't fit. But the model itself, I'm really happy with it. As I say, you know, when I was going through it, there's a few gaps here and there, but that's natural. I'm going to be looking to fill them with some green stuff before I come to the painting. And there hasn't been very much in the way of flashy in most places, but where there is, I've cleared it as I've gone along. But the representation of it is perfect. And that's looking at the tender. Plenty of detail on that bit. I'm wondering really, I probably need to look at a few trains to see whether there's a cover on them or whether I could even put some coke in this. But that's something I'll look at when I'm doing the green stuff. But the model itself, that's it all complete. And bear with me and I'll just get you a soldier so you can see that alongside it. Right. Let's bring in one of my soldiers. Oh, look at him there. Let's zoom in on that for you a bit. He sits pretty well there, size-wise, and the ultimate test is, of course, he'd fit in the back and be the right size there as well. So scale-wise, it's spot on. And just to show you a vehicle alongside it, a Jeep. It's going to look really nice on the battlefield. I am really pleased with it. Like I said, the only issue with me is the drawing could be just that little bit better on some of the parts that look identical. But apart from that, I'm really happy with it, and I look forward to building up the coaches next. But anyway, I'm going to wind this one up because I don't want to make it over long. In a future episode, I will look at building some of the coaches and getting them up to the same stage. And then further on down the line, when I've completed them, I'll bring them all together into one painting video, and then we can move on to some of the buildings. But I hope you found it useful. If you're building one of these, I hope the videos are some help. If you've got any questions you want to ask about it, feel free to drop them in the bottom of the video, and I'll reply where I can and try and help you if I can. But that's it for this episode. So if you've enjoyed it, please consider giving me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you get the next video. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Okay, bye.